Okay, very good. Well, welcome to today. Our session is on Dynamics 365 Human Resources and how it can help any agency recruit, hire, manage employee records, track benefits and learning, compensation, and retirement. This module or capability within Dynamics 365 is currently going through the FedRAMP certification. We anticipate it will be available in GCC this summer. So we are looking forward to sharing it with our government customers today in anticipation for its readiness in GCC. Terry Michaels is our presenter today. So she'll be introducing herself shortly. We do aim to provide a digital event today that respects all individuals. So we ask that you provide that safe environment for everyone. We conduct 3 of these sessions for our customers each month generally. So please go ahead and drop a topic in the chat that you would want us to consider in our schedule going forward. That would be very helpful. And for questions today, go ahead and drop those in the chat. And if we have time at the end, we will go ahead and open up the mic so that you can ask questions live as well. But we will be monitoring the chat today and answering questions during the presentation as well. We do have the lines muted so that we can minimize any type of background noise. After the event, probably on Monday, I'll be sending an email out. So it'll come from DE Victor at Microsoft, and that will include the recording and the deck from today's presentation so that you can share that with others. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Terry. So you can go ahead and share your screen now and take it away. Thank you so much for being our presenter today.
Okay, thanks, Deb. Yes, give me just one moment here.
And I've got your screen, but if you just want to put it in presenter mode, be fantastic.
Okay.
There you
Very
go.
good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Terry Michaels. I'm a senior technical specialist here at Microsoft, and I focus specifically on our what we call our ERP platform or our finance application. And I've been with Microsoft now for 12 years. Prior to that, I was in the partner channel, and that's how all of our solutions are delivered through our qualified partner channel. And I'm joined today by Quentin Hunkin. He is a digital technical specialist, and he's going to be our moderator in terms of monitoring the chat. So if you do have questions, like Deb mentioned, either raise your hand. I can't see that, so Deb will interrupt me. But if you do have questions, either raise your hand or put them in the chat window. Okay. All right, and so here's our agenda, and what I'm going to do, let's see. Deb, can you take me off camera? Can you do that? It's just distracting to me, that's all.
Done.
Okay, thank you. All right. So our agenda today is to just talk a little bit about our cloud solutions and just kind of the business applications portfolio in general. And then we're going to dive into human resources. I will do a couple of slides, but then I also am going to do a live demo as well. And then after the presentation, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. I do have some additional slides there that kind of go into what we call harmonizing your HR experience. And that's kind of utilizing the Microsoft platform to extend the application and to really make it a very seamless and great kind of interaction for your employees as well. So some of the challenges that we see for human resources today, obviously having disconnected HR systems, and that's very difficult. A lot of times our state agencies and state departments and things like that don't have any kind of HR system of their own. A lot of times they're required to use the state system or the city or the county's system in terms of, that being sort of the HR system of record. And so that ends up in having a lot of times people tracking things in Excel, or maybe they have their own Access database, or, so now you've got information kind of all over the place. And then that leads to additional challenges. So it makes it very inefficient for onboarding. And in today's environment, I think, even particularly in state and local government, it's a real challenge to find and retain a talented workforce. And then also ensuring that your workforce is, maintaining their training and development and things like that. So we'll be taking a look at a few of those things today. Okay. And so this is really our kind of the landscape for the Dynamics 365 business applications. So you can see there's quite kind of a catalog, if you will, of these different types of applications that cover all sorts of different workloads. And so we have everything from finance to the front of the house. So we've got customer service and marketing, and there's field service elements. We also have things for project operations and supply chain management. There's even a commerce element to it. And then, of course, human resources. Okay, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. All right, and so what Microsoft really is investing in is ensuring that we have sort of that we're making use of that one platform, right? And so we're utilizing all of our different elements here, from Power BI to Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Pages, and Power Virtual Agents. And then having all of those support that sort of that human resources workload. So just a summary of some of the out-of-the-box capabilities with human resources, and these are some of the things we're going to be taking a look at today. So organizational management, jobs and positions, employee profile, personnel management. We're also going to dive into the employee experience, so taking a look at some of the self-service components of the application. Compensation and benefits, we'll take a look at that. Leave and absence, and extensibility. Now, that being said, there's going to be, and I'll try to mention this as I go through the presentation today, that even though, for instance, we have, a learning component, right, to the application, oftentimes we'll have agencies that might have their own learning management system, right? So then we'll integrate with that. So even though I'm covering a lot of these things today, not every single component is like required to be used out of the box. So for today's presentation, we're going to take a look at organizational management. So we're going to start off with taking a look at some of the hierarchies within the application. We're going to go into a people view of our records. Then we're going to take a look at recruiting and personnel management. And again, I mentioned recruiting, and what I had just said before was that, we do see that agencies and departments sometimes have their own recruiting application. So even though I'm going to go through what we have to offer today, that does not necessarily mean that you would need to use it. People use things like iCIMS and LinkedIn and things like that. So you have the capability to integrate all of those if you're using something else. Okay. Then we're going to take a look at more specifics on the employee record, so benefits, compensation, leave and absence, and employee development. Okay, and then interspersed throughout, we're going to be taking a look at employee self-service and manager self-service as well, and that'll kind of just be sprinkled throughout the presentation. Okay, so with that, I'm going to come over here to my application. Okay. And so what we see here is the ability to have kind of a landing page. So this is what a user that's an HR professional might see. So this is from the HR professional's perspective, how we're going to be looking at things today. But I will try to point out as we go through, well, this is, kind of an employee view of it, or this is a manager view and things like that. So this is my landing page. This is going to have all of my different, what we refer to as workspaces. And so a workspace is going to be a collection of activities that have to do with that particular workspace. So benefits management, for instance, is going to have a lot of different things in it that pertain specifically to benefits. Okay. So those are our workspaces. They're very configurable. And so by that, I mean that, for instance, here I have a list view of my employees. I actually just put that on there so that I can get to it as like a quick link. And I'll try to point some of those things out as well. Okay. All right. So like if here, for instance, we go to our employees list. Okay, and so here now we have a list view of our employees. This is also a very kind of common view that you might see again throughout the application, whether we're looking at applicants or we're looking at positions or we're looking at employees such as here. So very easy to, kind of have that view. It's very kind of configurable. So if I wanted to move this field over, I can do that. And now what it does is it allows me to create kind of my own configured view. That, of course, can also be locked down. So if I don't necessarily want everyone within the organization being able to go in and make changes to the forms, then I can lock that down. I can also come here and I can say I want to insert columns. So I can come in and say I want to insert some columns. And so what it's going to do here, it's going to bring me a list of all the available fields that are here. Or I can go ahead and create a new field as well. So creating and adding new data elements is no longer a, kind of custom programming type of activity. You can just very easily kind of just click create. It'll ask you, some basic information here, and then it will automatically do that. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to come here and so I'm going to add my LinkedIn. Okay, and so then it would add that field again now to my view. And so if I wanted to come here and I want to save this view for future use, I can save that as something else. And then I can even set it as a default, right? So I can pin that view as a default and I can really kind of give it any name that I want. Okay. All right, now not saving that just simply means that the next time I come to this screen, those changes will not be saved, okay? All those configurations too, so for instance, if you wanted to have maybe someone who's a system admin person be responsible for doing that, you can do that and then you can distribute those configurations and personalizations out to the entire organization or to different groups of people. So if you have different groups that need different views of information, you can have that as well. Okay. All right, so just a little bit about the configuration there. I can also come here and I can say, so this is my Copilot technologies. So if you're not familiar with Microsoft and our Copilot technologies, this is using advanced AI and machine learning to assist your users in doing their jobs. And there's a few different places we'll see Copilot today. So this is one. So if I just wanted to ask a question, how do I hire a new employee? Okay. Okay, and so now Copilot is going through and it's bringing this information, it's analyzing it, going out there and saying, okay, this is now the steps of what to do, okay? And then of course you can see the whole thing here. If we drill down on that, it will also indicate the source from where this came from. So it's going to then take you through to the source. And if you look down here in the bottom left, and or if I just hover over it, it's actually taking you to the Microsoft documentation for this so that you know that it's a good source of information. Okay. All right. Great. So let's take a look here at our organizational hierarchies. Okay, so at an organizational level, we have this concept of what we refer to as organizational hierarchies. And what that's for is this is now a visual, kind of almost like Visio, if you will, representation of your organization. And of course, you can drill into these. They are represented here by organizational unit numbers. So that can definitely correlate to what might be in your chart of accounts, right? And so there is an element within the application that will allow you to track all of your, what we refer to as your financial dimensions, okay? And then of course, this would be, you know, this is just my demo data, so it would be whatever it is to you. So I have departments and cost centers and different things like that. You can effective date these as well. And so if there was going to be a change at the beginning of the fiscal year and you wanted to have that reflected, but then it also maintains the history as well. Okay. Now we also have that same concept here in our positions. So now if we take it kind of down a little, kind of to a lower level, this is now where we're analyzing that hierarchy by positions, right? And so if we wanted to look here, now in my demo environment, I have multiple different entities here. And so we're going to drill into this one. And so then I can see here, you know, Sarah Thomas and then her direct reports. I can see Tim. I can see I've got an open position here. And then under Claire, we can see all of the different reporting positions to her as well. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at Sarah here. So if I drill into Sarah, then it brings me kind of this related information or more details essentially about that. I can drill, these are all drillable fields, so I can drill into any of those. And we have this concept, I've mentioned positions, we have this concept of positions and then jobs. And so it's really kind of where the job actually is, I would say at a higher level, if you will, because I might have a CFO and then I might have multiple positions available, you know, or an accounting manager might have, you might have multiple different accounting positions underneath that. And so here, if I drill into, like, for instance, the accountant here, then I can see this is some general information here about the job itself. I can associate compensation levels here. And so we do have the concept of, you know, the threshold. So we have a low, a control point, and then a high threshold for salaries. I can attach skills here that are required, any certificates that might be required for this, and have that all tracked here. Okay. If I wanted to create a new position, I can do that as well. So I can come here. Now we have, in this case, in my demo environment, I have the ability to create a position without workflow, or I can request a new position to be created. And then that's going to go through workflow, and I can see here the workflow indicator. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to hire that. Any of these reason codes, these are all just completely user defined. So very easy to just have those, you know, be reflective of what your business processes are. Okay, so now I have a little bit more information. So this brings me to a more detailed screen. I can say here who this was requested by. So I can say this was requested by Sarah Thomas. Okay, and then I can go ahead and select her. I can put in some information here just in terms of comments, related actions, a budget comment. I can even, if I'm using elements of the budgeting module, I can also create like a budget request from here. So if I need to request funds for this new position, then I can create that directly from here and it will be related to this particular position. And then that, of course, can also go through a workflow process as well. We're going to come here and I'm going to associate a job to it. So I'm going to say an accountant. I'm also going to fill in the finance department here, and then I can say who that reports to. I'm just going to say that's going to report to the treasurer. Okay. And then I'm going to say I want this to be available. Maybe it's the 6th of January. I can indicate a compensation region. And again, these are all things that will kind of default that information onto the employee's record once this position has been filled. Okay. What position type it is, etc. And then I can also have here payroll information. Now, the only reason I have payroll information here highlighted is because I have open enrollment turned on. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit more once we get into benefits. But that again is an option. So again, a lot of times, agencies might have to use their system of record for, for HR, like the state system for open enrollment and things like that. So you don't have to have open enrollment turned on, but I do have it here. Okay. So I'm just going to save that. I can also copy the values from another position if I wanted to. And then I can say I'm going to submit that into my workflow. I can put in a comment here. I spelled it right. Okay. I have 3 C's. Accountant position. So then I'll submit that into my workflow. Okay. So and there's workflow available throughout the application that allows you to, again, kind of gear those business processes the way, that you want them directed, and they can go through multiple different approvals, and we'll kind of see a little bit more about that in a bit. Okay. So let's take a look at our people workspace here. So this is a view of kind of, your people, if you will. I can search here. If I just wanted to type in someone's name, I could search directly from there. That's also available on the homepage as well. But what I can do here is now I can see some information about, it defaults to my record. Now, again, I'm acting as the HR kind of admin person, for instance, or an HR generalist that would have access to all of the people's records. But if, for instance, we'll get into this when we get into the employee self-service, that might be the only thing I see is just my information. Okay. All right, so I can see here just some personnel information about it. I wish my birth date was 1981. Identification numbers, certificates, emergency contacts, etc. I can do a verify employment here. So if I needed to have that available, I can do that. I can also do here, I can assign a position, change position, terminate, enroll in benefits, and check FMLA eligibility. I can also see my leave and absence from here, so I can see leave and absence information. And again, I'd also be able to see any of my direct reports as well, okay? And see the same information essentially. So if I highlighted Ben here, then I would be able to see his details here. I can also email, call, and Teams IM message directly from here. Okay. All right. Now, if we kind of switch gears just a little bit here, let's take a look at recruiting. So again, recruitment management is not mandatory. You can use elements of it. Like if you just wanted to track what, job recs are open, you can do that. So you have the ability to do that. We also have, and this is new, we also have the ability to extend that a little further. So I'm just going to come here. Okay, and so this is our new recruiting app that we have that's going to provide a more of immersive experience within Teams itself, right? And so this is in private preview currently. And so this is going to provide a little bit kind of a different experience here. So this would be someone who's specifically working on recruiting, right? And or it might be the employee's perspective, or it might be the manager's perspective. This happens to be a little click through, so I'm just going to go through this kind of quickly here. So I was able to see that I've got 3 available applicants here for the account manager. And then I can go ahead and I can see here details about that. I can see any notes. So if there have been any interviews or anything like that, I can see that here. I can see that Jane doesn't have enough experience, so we need to reject that. And now she kind of disappears from our view, if you will. She doesn't disappear from the system, but she does disappear from my view. And then we can see here that this particular candidate, her rating is only at 60%. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click Aria. Okay, and then if there were any notes here, we'd be able to see that, but we're going to go ahead and choose to reject that here. Okay. So now we can see that we have Brian left. He has a very good rating. He has a 95% candidate assessment. And so here we would want to advance him. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and advance him. All right. And then we can just go back here. Okay, and so again, being able to kind of see here in a dashboard view all of the things that I need to do. I've got some upcoming tasks. Do I need to approve this time off? Any quick actions, performance management, my team, so I can see details there. There's also here across the top again, more tabs of available information. Okay. Let's go ahead and just take a look here at what an employee might see, a new employee. So they might get an email, right? And so they might get an email and they might need to, they're going to be instructed, okay, we want you to, prepare some of your action items here and take a look at them in the home page for HR. So then she does that. And then here now it's telling us exactly the different things that we need to do. So then she can go through and complete whatever her onboarding experience, her onboarding activities are. Okay. And then we also have a manager view here. So now this is Daisy's view. So, and again, kind of bringing that, you have a new hire joining today. You have 3 new candidates to review for your open position. Do you want to draft an email? So we're going to go ahead. And now again, this is utilizing some of our Copilot AI technologies to draft what we think this email should look like. So now you can have email templates set up if you choose to, but this is doing it kind of on its own, if you will. And that's why it's asking you if you want to keep it or do you want more details for Copilot to generate. Okay. So we're just going to say keep that, and then we're going to choose to send that email. Okay, so communicating with your, your candidates, communicating with your new hires, being able to have that information kind of in a very seamless, automated way to enhance your business processes. Okay. So that's our new recruiting app. And I don't know, Quentin, if you want to just drop in, do you know when that's going to be generally available? I want to say that that might be coming in April, maybe, something like that. So if you just want to drop that in the chat, that would be great. Or you can come on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, happy to do that. I think yes, it will be available sometime in 2025. Let me get that exact date for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. let's see here. So now let's go ahead and look at kind of a different aspect of kind of that recruiting process. This might be, again, something where more of the HR generalist or admin might be working on these different recruiting projects. And so this is going to give us a view here. All of these individual tiles can be configured, and so these can easily be configured. If I wanted to say add these position actions to my dashboard, I can go ahead and do that. I can say, you know, what do I want it called? What tile size do I want, etc. And so when I come back here now to recruiting management, now I've got my position actions here. And again, they're all hyperlinked and drillable. Okay. So again, just another way to kind of personalize the system to really match what your business processes are. Okay. So I can see here if I drill into this particular recruitment project, I can see that it's for a finance analyst. The recruiter is Sarah Thomas. From the finance department, the hiring manager, you know, different things tracking all of our dates and so forth. And then across the top, I have different options here. And so first of all, my recruiting project status. So it's currently in a start status. The different options here are schedule it, finish it, or cancel it. We can see here all of our applications. And so we can see the different applicants here, and then of course what their application status is. So Lisa was already hired. So we can come here and we can come to our application status. There's different confirmed interviews. And then again, these will change based on where the candidate is at. Okay. And so I'm just going to come here to hire new worker. Okay. And then again, now it's asking me, so how do I want this to kind of go through the system? Do I want to just hire the worker without any workflow? Or do I want to request to hire a worker with the workflow? In your system, in a live, you know, system, you would probably not see two choices. You would have made that decision that no, anytime we hire a new worker, it has to go through this, you know, workflow process, or it does not. Okay, so then we can fill in different things here for them, the position details. Excuse me. And so we want to associate that here to our accountant, what day they're going to start. So let's go ahead and say we want them to start on the 6th. Okay, and then we have this concept of checklists. And so a checklist is going to be where we come up with the different steps and things that need to be done, for instance, during onboarding, right? We can say who's responsible for it. We can create hyperlinks to you know, whatever it is that they need to, complete for those different activities. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and say continue on that. All right, and then we'll submit this into workflow as well. Okay. All right, and let's just go back one tab here, two tabs, sorry. Tab. Okay, and then throughout the application, we have a lot of these really nice Power BI built-in dashboards that give you a lot of great metrics and reporting information that is important to have on hand, right? So we need to know what are our demographics, right? Female to male applicants by age group. These are all different things that we need to be aware of within human resources. Our applicants by recruitment project, where they're located, any recruiting costs, applicant analysis. So this is giving us an analysis here of, you know, applicants by type and by status, applicants by education level, and then lastly, our recruiting analysis. So giving us some details about our different, you know, applicants versus openings by project. Hire to applied by company. I have multiple companies here, so it's bringing that up. And then what open recruitment projects that we have. Okay. All right. Let's now take a look at our personnel management. Okay, and so here we have, so this is where those checklists that we applied. Now, the last employee that I just hired, they're not here yet because they went into a workflow process, right? So they'd need to kind of go through that workflow process. But here we can see that Lisa Andrews, she's got 4 open tasks. And so we can see what those tasks are. And so now this is how that correlates to those different checklists. So we need to set up payroll records. That might be a hyperlink to our payroll system, right? And so that we can actually get that set up. Verifying identification documents, completing our background check, ordering a computer. That might be a hyperlink to, you know, a procurement module, which we have within the application as well. If you wanted to just use procurement within the application, you can do that. And then we can also see various things here. So transitions, offboarding, links. So here we have a bunch of links to all of the things that we would need to be doing in terms of some of these actions, right? All worker actions, pending worker actions, the onboarding, the offboarding. These are kind of some setup areas for that. And then a link to our different workers here. So we can track our employees, our contractors, past workers, pending workers, you know, different things like that. Okay. All right, so we can also track here within our personnel management a number of different things here. So there's address changes, work items. So this is workflow items that have been assigned to me. So now I can see here, here's that new position request. And so I can go ahead, I can drill into it and get the details of it, or I can just write from here. I can approve it, deny it, reject it, request a change, delegate it to someone else, recall, and view the history. So I'm just going to go ahead and say approve. And then that will send that particular action to the next, you know, whatever the next step in the workflow is. Okay. All right. Let's come back here. Okay. So now we can take a look here at some of our open positions, excuse me. So we can see here, this is the view of all of my open positions. I, of course, can drill into any of those. I can also do a hire from here, or if I needed to mass update, I could do that. I could view this in the hierarchy. So if I wanted to highlight my accountant and view it in that hierarchy, I can do that as well. Okay. So it kind of takes me back to one of the first places that we started in. Okay, and if there were any position action information here, I'd see that. And then I can also do earning statements from here as well. Okay. All right, so if we come here to our employees list, so let's just drill into that. So now here on my employees list, I can filter on any of these. So if I wanted to do a search for Barbara, I can go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and search for Barbara. So here's Barbara's record. Again, I don't have to drill unless I really wanted to, but I can get to all of these different areas just from here. But I'm just going to drill into her. Okay. This is where my workflow shows up here. So now we have this information where it's telling us that we have work items that we need to address. We can also see those on our home screen as well. Okay. And we can also have an email triggered as well. So if we wanted to have an email notification of that. All right. And so here we can see more information about Barbara. So we've got our worker summary information here, our work history, positions. These are some links to other areas within the system. I have my name information, my addresses. Of course, we can track as many different addresses on the system as you need to. and keep that history. I can come here to my benefits. And so if I wanted to see, now again, this is kind of, I have open enrollment turned on. So again, you know, it's just kind of a little bit of a different view. But if we just wanted to have a list here, like if the open enrollment occurred somewhere else, and then we just wanted to have that reflected here so that we have the information, then you can have that here. And again, I have open enrollment turned on. That's why there's all these things in here. But all right, so we can see here again, being able to email, call, and IM directly from here. I can see and print a benefits statement if I needed to. I can see any life events, any future life events, and then record those directly from there. Okay. All right. And then we have some compensation information here. So within the application, we have the ability to have fixed compensation, so they're a fixed salary compensation. There is also the ability to have variable plan types of things. So if there's some kind of, you know, year-end bonus, I know we don't really do that in state and local government, but it is available there to be able to do that. Okay. All right. So let's take a look now at employee self-service. So let's come here to my employee self-service area. So this is another area where we have Copilot infused. And so this is coming here now, it's generating a summary. It's looking at Barbara's information, and it's bringing us a summary here in regards to time off. And so giving us kind of that detail. Now, this would be, again, what an employee might see. And that if back on their home screen, all they see is the employee self-service, that might be all they have access to, right? And again, I can see here a summary of information, my work items. I can see a team absence calendar. So if I had a team absence, I can see here that Barbara has PTO on there. No one else on the team has any PTO recorded, but I'd be able to see that here. Okay. In terms of PTO, I can also have that displayed via Teams. And so now this is displaying this information through Teams, where I can now see this view. I can choose to request time off. I can record sick time. So I can say here, I want to request some PTO. And I want to request that for the 23rd and 8 hours. Oops, the date, sorry, date. Yeah. Okay, and 8 hours, and next. I can provide comments, reason, an attachment here if I needed to, and then I can submit that again into my workflow. And then that's going to go to whoever it needs to go to, whether it's my manager or you know, whatever the chain of command is that needs to approve those things. Okay. All right. I can also view my team from here. So this is another view of my team. And again, kind of a more of a restricted view, but we have a lot of different things here. So I can see my recruitment projects, pending time off, pending leave of absence requests, because we can track that as well. Any tests that might be expiring, certificates, probations, screenings. There's a skills gap analysis, because we're, you know, if we're tracking skills on everyone, we can have, you know, open positions, open position direct reports, and then I can view information on my team. And again, this just depends on what you want the managers to have access to. Sometimes it's only human resources admins that have access to this information. So then they would only have access to what we're giving them access to. Okay. All right. And so there's a number of different things here. All of these have workflow associated with them. So requesting worker reassignment or termination, compensation changes, etc. And those all have workflow associated. Okay. We have also the ability of tracking performance goals. And so here, if we had any reviews coming up, we'd be able to see that here. Any performance goals that might be associated. And so we've got one that's not started, two that are on track. And so we can drill into those and see kind of the additional details there. Okay. So from a learning management perspective and performance or employee development, if you will, that information then will be tracked for us. And if we come here to our employee development workspace, this one also is another one that provides a lot of really good reporting available within the application. So again, that Power BI analytics, providing that. You can also create your own analytics as well. But we have a number of different tabs here. So employee skill analysis, so employee skill levels by department, by number of employees. And we also have then employees by different levels. And then we have the links to all of that information. So we have our links here for performance goals, performance journals, which is where you action those items. We have goals associated. There's reviews that can be done, worker goals reporting. So there's all sorts of, and this is all different setup capabilities here and different reports. Okay, and then lastly, we'll take a look here at learning. And so learning capabilities here allows us, again, it's bringing us to a lot of reporting. I'm just going to come here to my links first. So we can track all of our courses. And again, a lot of times what we see is this learning ties into an LMS system, so a learning management system, very similar to like what you would see here with Microsoft Viva or the Viva Learning app, right? And so this is where you're actually, you know, promoting the courses, the course content is going to be here, whether those are, you know, run by instructors or they're recordings, you know, whatever it is. And so then that ties directly then back to our courses here. And this is where we're tracking what courses that we have available. We can see that we've got 2 in draft. We've got 6 that are open. And then, of course, if we drill into those, then we can see all of the participants, and these can be mass. So this one happens to be an annual online compliance training. And so that's something that we just assign to everyone. Okay. Great. And then in employee self-service, they can you can decide whether or not that they can sign themselves up for different courses. So that's kind of an option for you there. Okay. All right. So that kind of takes us through what we wanted to go through in the demo today. And I'm just going to come back here to my PowerPoint. Okay. And full screen that. All right. So when we talk a little bit about, you know, what is it that we mean by saying a harmonized employee HR experience, it's really, you know, streamlining it and making it, you know, easy for employees and HR to be able to have a very consistent, cohesive experience. So streamlining your learning experience. I had mentioned, you know, Microsoft Viva Learning. Enhancing that onboarding experience. So human resources with Power Platform and Viva Learning and Viva Topics. Human resources in terms of bringing the flow, so of everyday work to your employees and for your employees by using like Viva Goals, for instance. And communicating with human resources, right? So being able to utilize Viva Connections and Power Platform. And by the way, Microsoft uses all of these, right? So we use all of these tools for our HR experience. And they're all, of course, able to be accessed through Teams. Okay, so again, Microsoft Viva, we kind of talked about that. Being able to use Teams as kind of that central area of information. So we have our employee development here displayed in our Power BI desktop, being able to serve up the employee self-service in Teams as well. So you have that ability too. Okay, you can use things like Power Automate. So Power Automate is part of our Power Platform application set, and that allows us to have kind of like an enterprise-wide workflow tool. It's so much more than that. I know that doesn't do it justice, but it allows you to do workflow and transform data and do things like this, like for instance here, bringing this information directly to the manager or whoever needs to be taking care of this action so that they can approve, reject it, request a change, delegate right from there. Ability to use chatbot. And so you can have a chatbot where, hey, I want to know how much paid time off do I have, right? Or how much vacation time, whatever it is. Okay. And again, you can actually use all of the human resources app directly from Teams as well. Okay. So that's what I had for today. And I'll turn it back to Deb now.